Welcome to the House, Madam Governor.
Thank you so much. Good evening. It's an honor to stand before you tonight. Lieutenant Governor Parnell, Madam President Green, Speaker Harris, all of our legislators, thank you for this opportunity. And Governor Sheffield, thank you for being here. To our commissioners and staff, I'm privileged to serve with you. And to our guests in the gallery, to my family, I'm glad you're here. But a most sincere, heartfelt thank you to all of our servicemen and women and your families, those who are here tonight and those not with us, for your sacrifices day in and day out. I thank you. If we could just pause for a moment and remember those troops who are serving our country and the veterans who've served in the past. May God bless them and their families. Let us pause to remember and to honor. Thank you. Tonight, I dedicate this to all Alaskans as I speak to our Alaskan family. This administration reflects new people with new ideas, inspired to find new ways of governing, and we're certainly filled with boundless new energy. Less than a half a century old, Alaska is young, but we can exercise maturity and foresight to lead this great nation. With our rich energy supplies, we can contribute globally in so many arenas if we do things right. We can help make this world a better place, a safer place, and we can inspire greatness one way, by leading through example. First and foremost, we must lead with trust, founded upon a most ethical government. It's my responsibility to establish a foundation, the kind that Alaskans deserve, because mutual trust amongst administrators, lawmakers, the judiciary, and the public, it's ultimately inherent in our success as a state. And trust begins with the open door. The door to my office is always open. And as promised, I'll sponsor an ethics package that is full of reform. The administration should be involved in the discussion because ethics must be addressed for the legislative and executive branches. Let's combine the best concepts from all the introduced ethics measures into a bill. I won't have pride in authorship. I'm confident that we'll work together, seizing the opportunity finally for reform, and we'll do this for the people whom we are serving. One of our budget priorities includes funding an APOC investigator to enforce our changes. Let's work together collectively to see real reform. Individually, we can all build a more trustworthy government. Through greater personal responsibility, everyone gains. And so, my fellow Alaskans, in that spirit, I say to you tonight, the state of the state is strong, it is promising, with challenges ahead. Many of the challenges are economic, so the foundation of our administrative decisions rest upon what I believe Alaskans want. It's what we owe future generations. That's fiscal prudence in the use of public resources, saving for our future, and not burdening Alaskans with new taxes to support any overgrowth of government. We can expect to bring in $3.9 billion in revenue next year. That's $1.4 billion more than was spent just a few years ago. That's in addition to the billions in federal funds that we receive. I guarantee most Alaskans feel that with that level of income, we should be able to fund our priorities to serve fewer than 700,000 people and save money. Here's where we are. Without increased oil development, forecasts show about a $100 million reduction each year in available revenue. In addition, it's dangerous to assume that our current level of federal funding will continue. For sustainability, I've established an aggressive goal of reducing spending by $150 million. No question, this is a challenge. It takes tremendous effort by staff as well as hopefully the cooperation of the legislature, we're taking a hard look at every state program. And then on the savings side, by depositing our one-time surplus of $1.8 billion into the Constitutional Budget Reserve, we'll build our savings count to $4.3 billion. It's a necessary step to ensure that we can fund essential services tomorrow and avoid massive single-year cuts down the road if and when faced with tougher times. We're also legally obligated to do this. We'll finally repay some of the past CBR withdrawals, as is constitutionally required. And we promised to protect the permanent fund by depositing $1.3 billion into the fund's corpus, and I know we'll have a lot of discussion about that. I know. To help Alaska's families, too, and small businesses, the backbone of our local economies, I propose to repeal nuisance taxes, including the state tire tax. I don't think we should make Alaskans pay a premium to keep our families safe driving Alaskan roads, and will significantly reduce license fees, taxes on businesses which sent the wrong message by financially discouraging our small businesses. To sustain our future, we also must look to ramp up responsible resource development. As if we need another reminder about fluctuating oil prices, this summer was the primary example of what we need to be prepared for. Record high prices just months ago, they're now below what we need to balance our budget. Additionally, I'm keenly aware of sharply declining production from those North Slope fields. The amount of oil currently flowing through the pipeline is less than half of what it was at its peak. So we must look to responsible development throughout the state, from the slope all the way through and down to southeast, every region participating. From further oil and gas development to fishing, mining, timber, and tourism, these developments remain the core of our state. And one thing we can do in our volatile market is to provide stability and regulations for our developers. We're excited about many prospects, and naturally our focus is on energy supplies because we're so blessed with them. We can lead this nation, to help this nation, with a zealous energy plan which contains renewable energy components and cost-effective alternatives, especially for rural Alaska. We'll support real energy conservation efforts, and we'll engage in safe development, and we'll show the way for the rest of the world that we can be good stewards of God's green earth. And I know we haven't always done this. But to prove that we can responsibly develop, we'll beef up oversight on the North Slope because we've seen some legal obligations ignored. Greater oversight ensures proper maintenance of the lines that carry our oil to market. I won't tolerate corrosion eating through pipes while crippling our state economy with costly shutdowns. I'll establish a dedicated state team to ensure rigorous inspections and line integrity analysis. Our oil must and will flow to help continue to fund our essential services. In traveling across Alaska, I'm always struck by this absurd situation that we seem to be in, where our state, so abundant with energy resources, we have so many communities facing threats to safety and well-being because of the high price and limited supply of energy. Some communities face closure of their schools because they can't buy fuel or pay electric bills. That burden is nonsensical because we're sitting on some of the most plentiful reserves on the globe. The state needs to coordinate its energy programs to find local sources to help communities become self-sufficient. So DNR will inventory potential sources of energy, all of those including renewables like tidal and wind and hydro and geothermal. Taken together, new initiatives can finally provide new energy. New energy must come from proven reserves also, and will aggressively defend the state's obligations to responsibly develop ours. Perfect example is Alaska's Point Thompson field. Huge reserves up there. Leases are held by producers, their ironclad contracts, their promises to develop the public's resource for mutual benefit or give back the leases. There's a large producer who's held the lease at Point Thompson for roughly 30 years with no development. 3 decades to develop or step aside. Warehousing Alaska's resources is not an option anymore. We can't afford it. You know, the state should be expected and trusted to keep its promises. The standard for industry should be no different. Ironically, we're trying to convince the rest of the nation to open up ANWR, but we can't even get our own Point Thompson, which is right on the edge of ANWR.